Why listen to the past, when you can listen to the future? Welcome to the Think Future podcast, broadcasting from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. We focus on innovation, startups and the future, not necessarily those and not necessarily in that order. Here's your host.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Think Future. My name is Chris Kalaboukis, and once again, we're coming to you live from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. We're talking innovation, startups, the future. Not necessarily those, and not necessarily in that order. If you're watching on YouTube, smack that subscribe button and hit that bell so you can be notified when a new show comes online. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast service, please subscribe and please drop a note on Apple Podcasts. I greatly appreciate it. Now, I am sure that a lot of you have seen this in action. Whether it's in your home life or in your work life or in your business, whether you're a corporate employee, whether you're a startup founder, whatever it is, you are seeing something wrong. There's a problem. Sometimes the problem requires a workaround, but there's a problem. You see that there's maybe problematic individuals. You see a problematic process. You see there's a problem, right? You come across this problem. And you come across this problem over and over and over again. And you think to yourself, wow, this problem is terrible. And there's so many people complaining about this problem. And you think to yourself, wow, we really need to do something about this problem. So you work hard to try and solve the problem. But before you work hard to try and solve the problem, I want to go into a little bit of the background of these things. Is that I'm a consultant and I've gone and worked with many different companies. Financial services companies, hospitality companies, tech companies, all sorts of different companies. And the one thing I've noticed is that whenever I come into a situation, whenever I come into a new client, there's always some people, processes, or tools that are a problem. This tool is not very user-friendly. We don't really understand how it works. This person is kind of a jerk. We don't like working with them. This process is really a pain, and we love to change it. We love to streamline it. We'd love to figure out how to make it better. And in your organization, you're probably seeing that too. In your organization, you're seeing people, processes, and tools that are problems, right? You think, wouldn't it be great if so-and-so didn't work here anymore because they're such a difficult person to work with? Or wouldn't it be great if we could change this process because it's really heinous and it's got to go through all these different people and all these people have to align and it's a 1,000,000-step process and it just takes forever and it really slows us down. I can't believe there's so many people out there doing this and they're not complaining about it. They couldn't change it. Or there's some tool that you're working on. You're working with, I don't know, whether it's ServiceNow or some other kind of tool where it's a long, involved, painful process and you can't get through it. It's just a big problem, right? So most organizations, most lives, most people have these problems. They look at these things, the people, processes, and tools, and say, wow, these are real pain points. We should change them, and I can't understand why we're doing it this way. And then you try to solve the problem. You try to fix the problem. You try to do something about the person. You try to do something about the process. You try to do something about the tools. You try to bring in a new tool. You get pushback. You're like, wait a second. Nobody likes this tool. Why is it so hard to change it? You try to change a process. Nobody likes this process. But you try to change the process. You kind of try to come up with a new process. You come up with a more streamlined process. But nobody wants to implement it. And then you have a tool. You have a tool that people have been using, but no one's happy with the tool. Everybody complains about the tool. But when you try to do something about the tool, they say, oh, no, we can't change that tool. That's the tool we've had all of this time. So let me let you in on this, is that when you see a problem, and you probably know this already, so I don't know why I'm telling you this, When you see a problem person, like a jerk that nobody wants to work with, or a tool that is a pain in the ass to work with, or a process which is a huge problem to work with, but never seems to change. All of these times when you see a problem, when you see a ingrained problem, and you come in and try and change it, if it doesn't change easily, if it can't be changed swiftly, if you run up against any kind of friction when trying to change this particular person, process, or tool, if you come up against any of that, you have to understand that someone somewhere within that organization likes it exactly the way it is. Let's say there's a person who is a terrible person to work with. They're a jerk. They're awful to work with. Nobody likes them. Their bosses don't like them. Their employees don't like them. Their peers don't like them. But for some reason, they tend to be there year after year after year. They never get fired. They never get let go. They never get laid off. Or there's a tool that seems to just keep, even though people work with it and it's awful, it's always there year after year, and they just keep upgrading it and keep putting money into it. Or there's a process that somebody put in place years ago. See what I'm saying? So every time you come up against any kind of friction like that, it could be that there are individuals somewhere within the organization who like it exactly the way it is. They like this person to be in that role and doing what they do. They like this tool to do what it's doing, to have this painful, horrible UI and process. They like the process that's causing everybody to slow down. People within the organization like it exactly the way it is. And these are powerful people in the organization. And usually you don't even know who they are. But they're the ones who are arresting change within the organization. Because if anything, you're there to solve problems. You're there to make things better. You're there to improve things. But then when you come up against this resistance, and it's an invisible resistance usually, it's not somebody who comes out and says, I'm not going to fire that person because I like what they're doing, even though they're a horrible jerk. You see what I'm saying? So when you see that kind of thing, a lot of times you can't fight against it because it's an invisible enemy. There are people within the organization who want it to be like that. They want it like that. And unless you can identify the people who want it like that and do something about the people who want it like that, then there is no way you're going to be able to change that person, process, or tool within that organization. If you could figure it out, if you could do some investigative work, put your Sherlock Holmes cap on and do some investigative work and figure out who it is who likes it the way it is, who in power likes it the way it is, then that goes a long way for you to determine whether or not it is even possible to change this person, product, or tool. Because it's entirely possible. This person, process, or tool, they want it just like that. That's it for me for today. See you next time, and until then, don't forget to think future.